Hello and welcome again to 21st Century Music. Today we are going to delve a little deeper into programming our AX synth, and we want to show you how easy it is to tweak the sounds and come up with your own custom sounds, and how truly flexible this little toy is as you play with it. Lightweight and with 4 octaves, whether you strap it on or put it on a stand. It's portable, and we want to make sure that you understand the sonic power that is at your fingertips. Most people, they only think of playing lead guitar or something with it, but we want you to know that this can do whatever music you want to do, and it can be your one-stop shop in a pinch. You can potentially replace any or all of the sounds with your own custom creations, and I think that's the best aspect of it. If you like to be able to create your own sounds, this is definitely the way to go. Step 1 is to identify a tone that you don't much care for, and what you'll do is you'll keep that destination as the one into which you'll write your tone after you've created it. In this case, we've selected one that came with the synthesizer called Posset Mod, which is tone number 18 in the organ group. You click on the read button, and as you can see, it's read the Posset Mod information into the computer temporary area. Then you click on File, Save, and you can save it. That way you can put it back anytime you want. Well, we've already saved it, so what we're going to do now is we're going to initialize the temporary area. To initialize the patch, we click on Edit, Initialize Patch, and it's done. It says Init Patch there in the name, and all the parameters have been reset to their default value. So essentially we're starting from a clean slate every time we do that. So the next thing we want to do is just name the patch something. In this case, since I'm seriously after pipe organ voices, I'll click on the down arrow next to init patch, and I will type in cathedral. As you can see, when I click on enter, it gets renamed to cathedral. So I can now begin to change all my parameters of the sound, testing it out as we go along, and when I'm ready I can download it and save it into that particular memory that I identified at the beginning. Our overall plan is going to be to use the pipe organ sample as our raw tone source, and we are going to turn on all the partials here. As you can see, we click all 4 of them so they're all on. We're going to set all the partials to the pipe organ sample, and then we are going to use the pitch adjustment to spread them out harmonically over the entire spectrum for a thicker sound. We've switched to our waveform generator screen, and here we're going to select the pipe organ sample, which is number 47, and we're going to do it for all the voices. Actually, we made a mistake. It's this one. Okay, there we go. 47. 47. And 47. Next, we give the waveform a little gain. Notice we've got 6 dB gain on all this row here, column. And then we go on to the threshold to adjust the various. We give the waveform a 6 dB gain for each of them, and then we go on to adjust the frequency spread. Okay, here you see the coarse tuning. We lower the first one 12 semitones. We lower the second one 24 semitones. You can always use the down arrow to get it exactly right. There, we've got it right. we leave the third one at 0, so it will have the fundamental frequency, and we raise the last one by 12 semitones. That should make for a nice spread. It's a bit of a fiddle, but you can always use the arrows on the... There, we got it out. The next step is to turn off the filters. There you go, to the TVF tab, and turn off all the filter types for all the partials, and then you come to the TVA tab and set the various levels of the partials. In this case, all we did was lower the levels of partial 3 and 4 to 77 and 88 respectively, and this has the effect of actually increasing the bass response, because those partials that we lowered is the fundamental and the higher. So actually we've increased the bass gain there considerably by lowering those two slightly. Organs are not usually touch sensitive amplitude wise, so I obviously set the velocity sensitivity here in this column. You see this column here with the velocity sensitivity, I set that to the midpoint, or 0, because we don't want any different response depending on how hard we play the keys. I dialed in some bias here, as you can see, -20 and -30. By dialing in some bias here, what we did was we altered the slant of the keyboard response so that we boosted these bass partials in the bass area and actually reduced them in the treble area. So by dialing in these numbers here in the bias thing, we actually accentuated the highs in the higher part of the keyboard by rolling off the bass, and actually accentuated the bass tones in the lower keys with C4 as the split point. Okay, for the last steps in crafting my tone, I applied some random LFO waveform. Notice that I have the key trigger turned on, so it starts it fresh every time I touch a different key. And I reduce the rate. Just make sure you set the rate fairly slow. So we've got random waveform with a fairly slow rate. That produces a nice chorusing effect. Now notice over here I alternate between the pitch and the amplifier, and just observe as I change between the partials. The only thing that changes is a slight setting, +2 and -2, +4 and -2 between the pitch and the amplifier, as you can see as I slowly go between. So one is set for +2 and the other is set for +4 and -2, and vice versa. Okay, so that gives you some nice LFO that feeds into the both the frequency and the amplitude of the various partials that make up our pipe organ, and gives it that natural feel. And also to increase the realism, I came here and where was it? Here in common structure. See where it says analog feel? I increased that to about 11, and that gives a nice subtle variation. Now to round out the show, we need to add a little reverb. So I came here on the effects page. I passed it through the multi effects, but I sent a small amount to the reverb chamber, and I came down here and I turned on my reverb and set it to Hall. No other changes were made, and that gave it a nice feel on the reverb. Okay, so that's your patch, basically. I hope I haven't forgotten anything. Remember now, you need to write it to a tone. So you click on the write button, and this is the one I'd selected, number 18 here in bank 7, which was the Posit Modern one, which I had already saved and backed up. So if I click OK here now, that will write it down, write my cathedral tone into the synth so that I should be able to access it on that particular key. Okay, so whenever you call it up in future, it will, like for example here, if I call up the patch list, see the cathedral, it's called cathedral now, like that other name has been changed. Okay, so I hope you'll have fun, and remember that you can't break it. As you shift around, once you do it intelligently, you will get to the sort of sound that you're hoping to achieve. Well folks, that's it for today. See you again soon on 21st Century Music.